Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is part of the Altenew Fairy Tale Dreams video hop as we are celebrating Altenew's new fantasy storybook release. You are arriving from Michelle Short's YouTube channel. There's going to be a list of all the participants in the description in case you want to go back and check them out. So we're celebrating the release of the storybook fantasy release, and this one is amazing. If you're a book lover, then there's tons of stamps about books and that you're gonna love about reading, but there's also beautiful florals, a huge selection of 3D embossing folders which are great, some layering stencils which are gonna give you these beautiful florals, a set of washi tapes. There's a slim washi tapes and also one that has gold foil. But what I'm excited about is the new detailing blending brushes, which we're going to use in this layout. So what I'm going to create is a little layout for my daily documenting. I am going to use the new Hill Blossom layering stencil set to create my florals. So I've cut, this is just regular cardstock. This is 65-pound white cardstock. I think it's just I think it's from Michael's, nothing special. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start creating my florals. And the stencil comes in two sets, in a set of two, sorry. The first one has all the leaves and the second one has the florals, the flowers. So I'm starting with the leaves. I am using inks from the Green Fields ink set. So I'm starting with Forest Glades and my small ink blending tool. These are all from Altenew. And I'm just going to pick up some of the ink and go in a circular motion on top of my stencil to create the impression. You're going to see that I've added a little bit of I'm using post-it tape to keep it in place, my stencil, so it doesn't move, so that way when I pull it out I don't rip any of the parts of the paper. So again, I'm just going in a circular motion. I'm starting with the medium tone of ink, and you're going to see that I'm adding the ink towards the center of the application, like the center of the leaves, kind of the branch. I'm just gonna add the color there. Once I have completed the application, I'm gonna switch into, I think it's frayed leaf, the second tone, just to the edges or to the corners of the leaves, make them a little bit lighter so that it gives me or helps give me the impression of 3D, kind of give me a little bit of the dimension to the florals. And then I'm pretty much done with the first part of my stenciling. So once I'm happy with that, you're gonna see that I'm gonna take up my stencil, I'm gonna rotate it, and I'm actually gonna create 3 of the impressions in this piece of paper. I size it so that I can have 3. I need 3 for what I have in mind. So once I have my entire stenciling area, I'm gonna come in with the ink detailing blending brushes. Sorry. There's 3 that come in the set, a small, a medium, and a large. I'm going to go with the largest one of the 3 brushes. And all I'm going to do is just kind of accent the little corners of the stencil that you could have missed with the larger ink blending tool. It's very simple, and it actually helps you to add the detail. It helps you to add dimension onto your pages. So once that I have that, I'm going to flip the stencil and go with the detailing part of the leaf. Again, these stencils are designed to easily create your pages, so very easy to layer. So once I set it in place, I'm gonna go ahead and stick my stencil with a little bit of the post-it notes. And then I'm going to go with evergreen ink and my large ink detailing blending brush. And I'm just going to add the color to the impression. This is going to just help you to define all the little branches and the little leaves, give it some definition. It's going to give a little bit of dimension. You're going to see that I'm gonna try to apply the color a little bit heavier towards the center of the leaf, so just it's a little bit darker, so it helps me with the dimension. And then I'm just again going in a circular motion just to transfer the color from my brush onto the paper and thus creating the impression. So once I'm finished with that, you're gonna see that I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna switch brushes. I'm gonna go into the medium brush just because if you look at the stencil, it has really fine lines and some little corners that sometimes you can miss even with the smaller brush. So I'm gonna go with a medium one just to make sure that I add the color in every single corner. And the beauty of these blending brushes is that first of all, they're angled, they're smaller, they're really small, so you're able to hit all those little corners. Sometimes the stencils have these tiny little crevices that you need to add ink, and this lets you do that beautifully and in a really short amount of time. So now that I'm done with the leaves, I'm going to start with the florals. The flowers come in a separate stencil, and it has 3 steps. So I'm starting by first adding the outline. For this, I am using the inks in the Cool Summer Night ink. I'm starting with Ocean Waves, Sea Breeze, and I'm using my small ink blending tool, and I'm just gonna add the ink in a circular motion on top of the stencil just to create the outline of the florals. So again, very simple. I'm just gonna start with the florals and then rotate my stencil to create all 3 of them. Once I have that ready, I'm gonna, like I said, this stencil, you're gonna have all the little steps to create your florals. So all you have to do is just match them to kind of line them up, and that's it. Very simple. These come together so easy. It's actually a joy to get them done. So you're gonna see I'm just moving my stencil just to line it up for the next image, and then once I'm done, I'm gonna go ahead and just set up my stencil so that it matches. There's a little, you can use the branches as your guide for the stencil. Once I have it in place, I'm gonna go ahead and use one of my ink detailing ink blending brushes. Sorry, it's just hard. I'm going from an ink blending tool to detailing blending brushes. A little bit like, a tricky one here. So I'm going in with my medium. I'm not gonna go with the large. I'm gonna go with the medium just to add the details. And I'm using Ocean Waves for this. So I'm picking up some of the color, and I'm just gonna go in a circular motion on top of the stencil. This is the second part of the stencil. This is the one that's gonna help you define the petals, give some dimension to the florals. So very simple, and I'm using the medium brush just because I want to make sure that I hit all the little corners. There's little lines that are gonna help you create this, just because it's such a small flower, and also because the petals are so thin that there's little lines. So using these ink blending brushes are just gonna be perfect to create all the definition. So I'm just going in a circular motion, just creating that definition onto my floral. And once I am ready with that, I'm just gonna kind of clean up my stencil. I'm cleaning my stencil in between. I'm not showing you that, just with a baby wipe. And then I'm gonna come in with the third part of the stencil, which is the one that is gonna help me just totally define and bring dimension onto the floral. So for that, again, I'm just setting my stencil. I'm gonna come in with the smallest blending brush, just because I have those really thin lines. So I want to make sure that I hit it and I create a crisp impression. And I'm using dark for this. It's just the darkest color of ink, and I'm just gonna go again. I'm picking up the ink, going in a circular motion, making sure that I hit every single corner, every single perforation in the stencil, so that I can create that crisp impression on the florals. Once I have that completely, you're gonna see that I'm actually gonna do it twice. Once I do that, I'm gonna lift up my stencil, and then I'm gonna come back in with the same color inks and do it again, just because I want to make sure that I accent that color. And it's very easy. These stencils layer super easily. It's very it's not complicated. It's a joy to create them, because there's a lot of guessing. The guessing game has been taken away. So you just, as long as you match it to the branches, you're gonna have them done in a breeze. So again, I am ready for that. I'm gonna continue and finish my flowers. And then the last step in this floral is to add the centers of the florals. And because I want to make sure that it gets accented and I'm using the dark colors, I am actually gonna use jet black ink for this application, just to add the little centers, these little circles that are just gonna help you define the floral. So again, this if you look at the stencil, the way that the petals have been shaped is going to give you the exact position for the little circles. So once I have them in place, I'm going to come in with the smallest detailing brush and just go on a circular motion with jet black ink, and it's going to create the tiny little circles on my florals that are gonna define the flower. And that is all that it takes. I'm gonna say that it took me maybe half an hour to create the 3 florals. What took me the longest was to fussy cut them, and I'm actually gonna do that right. You're gonna see once I finish, I'm gonna start fussy cutting. I'm gonna take it off camera, but if you're not a fan of fussy cutting, don't worry. Altenew is will be releasing soon the dies that match this stencil, so just stay tuned and they'll be coming. So my idea is, if you have seen my work, I document daily, and I use a life crafted album. This is from Citrus Twist Kids. The size of my album is 5 inches wide by 8 1/4 per page. So I'm using one of the pages. This is Nina Cardstock 80 pounds. I just wanted something a little bit sturdier, and I'm gonna use the whimsical herringbone stencil to create a soft background for the white side, because this is just the left hand side of my layout where I'm gonna add the florals. So my idea is I'm using buttercream yellow ink for this, and I just want to stamp a little bit of the herringbone impression to the left hand side of the white part of the left hand side of my layout. And I just want a really soft impression. I am gonna carry a little bit of the impression towards the center of the page where my picture is gonna sit, but then you're gonna see that it's really, really light. It's just like a soft shadow on the background, and that's what I want. But I'm also gonna carry it onto the right hand side of my layout, and I'm using a manila tag for that. This tag is 4 inches wide by 8 inches in height. So I'm just gonna add the impression towards the bottom 1.5 inch of the tag. I'm using the same ink. Once I have it ready, I'm actually gonna dilute some of the ink. So all I did is stamp the ink on my block. I added some water, and then I'm just gonna add a few splatters of the color just to make sure that you can see the color on the background. And I went with yellow because it's a nice contrast complement to the blue and the greens that I have on the florals. Once that's in place, all I did is I added a piece of vellum behind my picture just to create a soft separation between the picture and the paper. And then I'm gonna use the florals that I created kind of in a line, kind of to frame my picture on the left hand side of my layout. So you're gonna see that I set it in place, my first floral, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I glue my picture in place, and then I'm just gonna add a little piece of foam adhesive behind my florals just to create a soft lift. I just want to add some of that dimension. I'm gonna make sure that the flowers that are coming from the top of the page do not cover my face, so I'm gonna tuck it underneath my picture, and that's about it. I don't think I need much more. The florals are beautiful enough that I don't want to take away from that. So I'm just gonna cut any excess that are sticking out of the paper, and then I'm gonna start working on the tag. Now for the tag, first of all, I'm gonna use some of the new washi tape, and this washi tape is the Cool Summer Night Slim washi tape set. I'm gonna use the 2 lightest color, and I'm gonna put them right at the edge where the herringbone impression finishes on my tag. Once I have that, I'm gonna place my floral. A little bit of it is gonna be coming out of the tag, and I'm okay with that. And I'm adding a little bit of foam adhesive just to keep it in place. And then I'm gonna start working on adding the title and the sentiment to this page. To add the title, I'm gonna use obsidian black ink and a sentiment from the whimsical herringbone stamp set. My apologies on that. And the sentiment says, "Friend, being around you is my happy place." And I thought that was the great sentiment for this layout, especially because that's our baby and he loves to be held and be treated as a baby, and we do that a lot, and he weighs over 30 pounds, so it's not the lightest of chores, but it's one of the most loving things that we can do with him. And then I'm going to use a second sentiment, just kind of a subtitle, and this is going to come from the Modern Swan stamp set. I'm using black obsidian ink, and I'm going to add it right underneath my picture. And once I have that in place, all I did is added some lines of journal by drawing them on the top of the tag, and then I'm just going to finish it with some puffy stickers. I'm not using enamel dots. I wanted something a little bit softer that when I squish it, it's not going to destroy. All that is left to do is just add some trim onto my tag, and my layout is ready. I love how this turned out. Like I said, creating these florals with the layering and stencil in a series is super easy. If you like, creating card making in a mass or in a series, this is a great stencil for you to have. Make sure you check the ink blending brushes because they're a game changer. And I hope you enjoyed this. As always, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Don't forget to leave a comment in every one of the stops to be able to have a chance to win prizes. And now are off to watch what Nicole Sport has created for the hop. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you very soon. Take care.